What's going on, everybody? Doc Average Gamer guys, back again. More Last Day on Earth action. Jumping into another fun video here for you today. This one has taken a little while to get put together. Now, I wanted to grab a few more, but I think we're at a good spot where I want to go ahead and use all these up. So I'm excited to do this here with you today. So we're going to crack some crates. I'll leave you in a little bit more suspense, although the thumbnail and probably the title of this gave it away. So we're going to be doing that. In addition, we're going to head over, and usually I do this at season end, but I'm going to jump over just for a little bit of expedition progress and some settlement based updates. I want to talk about something that we're working on here that if you are in late end game, should maybe be focused on for any potential new updates that might be rolling across, and especially as it relates to the settlement. So want to touch on that and some things that we're focused on. So we're going to do that. We'll see if we jump into any expeditions. We'll see if we get any progress in terms of mercenaries today. I'm very hopeful, but I don't have quite as many crates as we would normally crack because still have a little bit of time left on the season and trying to work through that. And I've been slacking a little bit on my daily rewards too, so just gonna throw that out here. But first things first here, I have been stacking up these weapon crates. I've actually stacked up a pretty nice look of weapon crates, to be honest with you. So this is a 47. I wanted to get the last three, but I'm just too excited to try to open these up. This is 47 weapon crates. How did we end up doing this, and why? Why? Because I thought this would be fun. It would also be an interesting way to take a look, sample size wise, to see how many of each different weapon we end up getting. So there is a little bit of research going into this. This is a pretty small sample size overall, but close to 50 crates will give us a general idea of how many, let's say, guns versus melee weapons we'll end up getting. If you enjoy this content, be sure to let me know down below. And if you're interested in this type of research, be sure to let me know down below, because this is something that I would be very comfortable to continue to stack up and do another bigger batch, another 50 or so, or 60 or 75 of these in the near future once we're able to collect them. And just see what the rewards are. That's really one of the main purposes that I want to do this, is test to see how that's working, to see how much of each we're going to get, and just see some of the variety too. I think sometimes it's easy when you crack these open, especially if you just do it periodically. Maybe you don't do your dealer every day, but you stumble on them every few times, and then you do the trade-ins to just crack it, see, hey, I got a melee weapon here, oh cool, I got a gun, whatever it ends up being, and not really pay too much attention to what you could potentially pull from the pool, as well as what frequency you're getting some of those things at. Excuse me. I know for me, at least, it feels like I would go on stretches where I'd, would be getting guns pretty consistently, especially on my free-to-play account, where that could be really important. So thought this would be interesting. Let me know down in the comments below if you end up enjoying it, and we can do another stockpile of these as we get going. I want to cover really quickly, where do we get these from? Two main sources. We got them from the dealer. So just doing dealer trades each and every day. A lot of times you will have two dealers, one that you can queue up and one that will pop up on the map. Sometimes I feel like you might be able to get more than that, but very consistently you can queue in the two every about 24 hours or so. The better place and the more consistent place beyond the dealer, outside of getting puppies, will give you weapon crates. I went ahead and went over to Blackport PD. So that was a really good spot for us. Green cards at Blackport PD will reward you with one of these weapon crates every single card that you drop in there. So we did a few Blackport PD runs to pick up probably about half, a little over half of these, to be honest with you, over the course of a little while, as you can imagine, through doing just letting Blackport PD naturally reset on its own. So that was good. That was where a lot of these came from. We'd be getting 5 or so per run for each of the cards, which was really nice. And again, picked up some dealers. And probably there's maybe one or two other things that I'm not thinking about in terms of where you can find these. That was the most generally consistent. That's where I went and kind of what I farmed to be able to go ahead and grab these. So if you're interested and trying to do something similar, or just kind of interested to have a cool collection of weapon crates in one of your containers, those are a couple of places that could very consistently hit you up and hook you up with one of those. So let's go ahead and get started in this, and let's just start cracking these open. So we're gonna see a pretty good variety of weapons: saw blade mace, I believe the sledgehammer. We can see the pipe, we can see the machete, Glock shotgun, AK, M16. I think is the loot pool for this, but I'm not 100% sure. Katana, I forgot one melee weapon. There's an M16 for us. Another saw blade mace. There's the pipe. Glocky. Another katana. Another Glock. There's a shotty. Very nice. There's a machete. I think I hit just about everything. There's the sledge. M16, a few more sledges, another shotty. I'm gonna just kind of rapid fire open these. Okay, so how did we sit out of the first half? Not bad, not bad. 10 of the items were guns out of 25, and a good mix. 3 shotguns, 4 M16s, 3 Glocks. Seems to be a pretty even spread there. We see 15 of these 25 end up being melee weapons. The vast majority, obviously, saw blade mace here, which I actually don't think I'm upset about. I'm not mad at grabbing katanas and machetes. Honestly, all of these I think are very solid weapons. But saw blade mace being, I think, the most it's definitely the most expensive thing out of this to craft. Outside of katanas, you can't craft those. Being able to see these with a decently higher frequency isn't a bad thing, I would say. Now, me personally, I would probably prefer katanas or machetes over most of this, but saw blade maces, with the difficulty that it is to craft them, in addition to the fact that you don't really find these a whole lot. You can find them from supply crates and a few other locations, but that's not bad. That's not bad to grab it out of these. So let's see how the next batch of this shakes up and see if we are going to continue on with the heavy melee streak. And the first 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my gosh. Hello? Are we gonna get... Okay, I was gonna say, did the guns just turn off? That was wild. Again, good sample size here. We're seeing that when you include this, you are seeing a much heavier proportion of melee weapons and very heavy saw blade mace here comparative to guns. Now, again, out of all of this, I'm not upset at the fact that we found, 15 guns overall. That's a little weak considering the last batch of 22, we saw only 5 guns. So that ratio is much, much worse than we had seen in the first set. Again, not a big enough sample size to really pull too much away from, but a decent one enough to recognize that don't be upset if on the average you're seeing more melee weapons than you're seeing firearms. When you grab a firearm, it seems like you have a pretty decent spread of picking up any of the 3 that are available to you. So that's pretty good. Like to see that. And then from that perspective, you're seeing a decent spread outside of machetes. You're seeing an okay spread of the rest of the melee weapons. Sledges and pipes seem to be the most consistent, obviously, from what we can see here outside of the saw blade mace. So all in all, pretty fun. I hope you enjoyed this little experiment. I hope this data was kind of interesting for you and gives you a little bit better perspective if you're going to be going crack open these weapon crates. I would strongly recommend to be doing your dealer as often as possible just to grab these. The fact that you can get any of this stuff out of here, and if you have the skill that gives you better deals from the dealer, a lot of times you're turning in some pretty trivial things to pick up what is really solid weapons. This is a great weapon pool. I am not mad to open any of this stuff. I think the thing I like the least is the sledgehammer, and that's not a stretch at all to say that I really like this weapon. Skull Crusher's pretty solid. Saw blade mace, obviously just a little bit better, but these are great sneak attack, second slot weapons for you that can do some absolute work with some good mods on it. And then weapons wise, again, picking up, 15 out of the 70, 47, I said 70, out of the 47 that we had isn't bad. That's not a bad ratio. Not great, but it's not bad. And definitely worthwhile the time and probably the energy spent and the resources to grab these. So hopefully you found that interesting. Let's pop over here. I'm going to grab a drink. We're going to pop over. Let's open up some mercs. Before we do that, though, I want to talk settlement updates and a few things that we've been working on. So we shared in a video, not super far back at this point, but a little while back, we finished the settlement. Everything is fully, completely built. We have all workbenches down. We have everything modified from where we would want to be. We have everything that is placeable and buildable that we were able to do. There is nothing left for us here. We have every room complete. We can craft everything inside of this. And we have subsequently gone forward and done so. Now, that being said, there is still a few things that we have been working on. And one of the big things is I'm going to showcase right here, which is reinforced floors. Now, this comes after your standard, whatever this is, whatever this foundational floor is. But from this floor, you can upgrade it here to the second tier. And then from that second tier, you can actually upgrade into these reinforced floors. Now, what's interesting, and the reason that I'm starting to work on this, and these, as you can tell, this is not a simple upgrade. Now, this might be hard to distinguish from just how small it is, but this is oak frames. These aren't standard pine frames. These are oak frames. In addition to that, you need iron sheets. You also need metal parts and then gravel. Now, gravel isn't necessarily hard to make. Oak frames are not necessarily hard to make either, but you do need a lot of oak. You obviously have to turn that into beams, and then from the beams, you have to put it in there, and you have to be able to use some screws, and you make the frames around it. This is a pretty high level, especially when you consider the multiple avenues you have to go to get both the oak frames and these steel sheets. That's multiple levels of refinement. This is not cheap. These are not cheap upgrades, but in the spirit of considering that there is a pretty high likelihood that the next consistent content we get will at least have something to do with the settlement, potentially giving us extra walls, extra space, maybe some extra things that we can build, workbenches, and a new level to be able to do that. I wanted to start working on the requirements for completing this. So we are going to slowly and steadily, be working towards working up the resources to start popping in reinforced floors in many of the different locations and trying to get each of the rooms essentially ready to go, where if an update was to drop tomorrow, we could fully install the walls, and then we'd be good to go from that perspective. So that is what I am focused on. In addition, I'm also focused on staffing up what I think is going to just be really good resources that take some refinement. Aluminum cable is at the top of the list. We have tons of hoses and all that stuff, but aluminum cable comes up to the top of the list because typically, even if we were to get, let's say, some additional van levels, I feel like we were dropping in a whole lot of aluminum cable. If we get any additional room expansions or opportunities to build additional generators or workbenches that require power, we're going to need a whole lot of aluminum cable to do that. One thing I'm not focused on, but would be a really good idea also, is the pipe rolling machine. We should probably be spending some time to make some additional iron pipes, just in case, again, we get any new workbenches that are going to require this type of access for it in order for us to get that working. So the tough part here is that with some of these upper refined materials, as you can see here with iron sheets, we need iron sheets both for iron pipe as well as for reinforced floors, and we are going to be focused pretty specifically, I think, on reinforced floors for a little while, because we need a lot of them. We actually need a whole lot of them when you come to take a look at it. It's anywhere between 10, I think, at the low side, up to 16, I think, is the top end for reinforced floors as we're taking a look at them. So kind of important to see. Yeah, we got 12 there. I just wanted to showcase this really quick. Oops, wrong bench. 8 here, so excuse me, 8 was the lowest. That's actually not bad considering that's kind of like the tech area. That could be pretty good. And then 14 here. So same rules. Well, not really. Same rules are not going to play in terms of the walls. Interestingly enough, we can do reinforced floors. We can't do any reinforced walls, which I find pretty interesting. Kind of throws the aesthetic off a little bit. Not that that's the end of the world, but just kind of interesting to see these reinforced floors next to essentially plywood walls with some frames and some nails and stuff on it. So kind of keep that in mind. The other thing that I think in the video that we did with maxing the settlement is we had not been able to do reinforced pallets. There is an additional step above this, but you can see we are holding on to a whole lot of materials, So that is really nice to see. We've been kind of grinding up a few other materials that I think might be helpful for us. And we're burning through some as well when you kind of take a look at some of the things we have. But we've set ourselves up really nicely with some oak frames and some pine frames, just trying to kind of stockpile some basic resources. And some of the more advanced resources really don't have much use for iron frames at this point. We're trying to stack up some of these resources so that if new updates drop, we can move on them pretty dang quickly. So if you have settlement questions, be sure to drop them down below. Happy to answer anything in terms of what we have gone to do for success. With that being said, 23. This is a little bit lower, certainly much lower than we have ever opened in the past, but let's go ahead, crack 23 here. Let's just see if we can get anything. I actually want to take a look to see, is there anything that we need that would be a big help for us? Well, some more quick draw stripes to keep getting Connor leveled up and closer to 60 would be great. Rachel, not too worried about. Tucker would be really good if we can pick up some diehard stripes. Excuse me, I do want to get him to 40. Kind of keep leveling him up. I need one more Lemmy contract. That's it. And then we can get him up into the 40s, towards the 50s. This would be huge. We've stockpiled some stripes to be able to do that. Chris on his way to level 60. That's pretty cool. I would love to see an Officer Murphy. Just one of these to get him up into the 30s would be really nice. Jack of all trades. A few of these folks were just working on upgrading. Allison actually would be another interesting one. We need 2 of her to get her up into the 50s, which could be really, really good. And then just honestly some stripes. Or Godfrey. We could find him too. I'm not really super stressed about that. But that would complete the collection. So not a ton we're looking for. Some stripes, a few specific, very rare contracts. So let's crack them open, see what we can get. I mean, listen, I was taking a drink of my Coke when this guy popped up. I'm pretty ecstatic about this. Now, here's the problem. I think Officer Murphy is great. Getting him up to that next set of 10 levels is also going to be absolutely great. I don't know if he's still going to be able to slot in for us in order to help us. We will have to test this out. We will have to see as we jump into some expeditions. I will have to see if that ends up being a big help for us. I just don't know if his current skills and current traits are going to be enough at that level. So really happy to grab him and be able to level him up. I cannot emphasize that enough. We grab a very rare here on our first 10 is really, really awesome. That's like super, super cool. All of that being said, not sure how impactful this is going to be for us at the moment, but we will find out. It's still great. It's still great. Helps the collection. Like, I am not by any stretch of the imagination upset by that. So let's see if we can get another 10. Jack of all trades. Not really a contract that we need. All right. Not great on stripes. I mean, we'll use these, so I'm not too concerned about that. A lot of the same ones, though. We didn't see a ton. We didn't see a lot of gifted stripes, interestingly enough. But I feel like we did see a few other things. So let's get some upgrades going. We got 22 here of these, which doesn't even put a freaking dent in the 10,000 experience that we need. Oh my god. All right. Now we could put some time into Tucker. Gosh, we have a ton of these. We are going to be able to get an upgrade here for Mr. Officer Murphy. Let's go. Again, I think the stat profile for this guy is really good. Old school, range attacks and AoE attacks. Deal Murphy, 15% less damage, and damage from explosive barrels is decreased by 13%. That's actually a really nice passive skill, and just make him a lot more tanky. I really do actually think I want to put in, let's get a couple levels up here. 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 81 damage. How does that stack up with somebody like Chris? Yeah, that's going to be tough. This is going to be the tough part that we're in at this moment. Now, Lemmy, interestingly enough, he has less health, significantly less health, a massive amount of buff and armor, though, almost double, and damage is pretty comparable, and that's interesting when you take a look at this guy being at level 40 versus this guy being at level 23. A massive amount of levels behind him. If we put some universal stripes into this guy and got a few additional levels, it'd be really interesting to see where he pans out at. And then Jack of all trades. Interestingly enough, we just got to move Jack. I think we need a few more contracts from him, but we can get him up to 50. He's kind of an interesting one for us. So we missed out on Malison, not doing a whole lot with Naomi and Dash. Really happy to see Officer Murphy. That is pretty freaking cool. So we'll look at maybe dropping some stripes in and going from that perspective. But I'm gonna be upfront with you. Pretty tired. So I think I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the little crate opening was interesting. We'll bring you some expeditions here in a future episode, maybe once season does end and we get a few more days of our dailies and some of our additional mercenary contracts. We can do a little bit of an update, grab a few more, make some upgrades, go from that perspective, and then give it a little bit of a test. So a little bit of a shorter episode. Do really appreciate you hanging out with me. Apologize for, again, it being a little shorter. Thank you so very much. This was a fun one. I hope some good statistics and a little bit of a good sample size for opening up some weapon crates, so you have a better idea of what you can find in that, and a small sample size to see how lucky are you getting, or maybe how unlucky are you getting if you're looking for anything super specific. So really good rolls here on the Merc contracts, so really happy about that, and I hope you enjoyed. So we'll be jumping into more expeditions here and more of this very soon. Again, update video is out. If you want to go check that out, be sure to kind of stay up to date. We'll bring you anything else that we do hear about or find about going on in Last Day on Earth. I'm going to flash some socials. Links in the description as well. If you want to come join our Discord, that's where we get all of our news posted, actually, from the official Last Day on Earth Discord. Comes to our Last Day on Earth channel. So if you're interested in hanging out with us over there, we'd love to have you. Likes and comments are great. Thank you so much for all the support. Hit that sub button for us. Trying to get to 10K. That's our big milestone for the year. All those things being said, if you enjoyed this video, go click on another one. That's another great way to support the channel. And we will wrap it up for you here today. Again, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day. We'll catch you next one. Peace.